Hi everyone, my name is Leila Pachidi Sander, and I'm a Policy Development Officer in the Housing Secretariat. And I want to welcome you to the second pre-recorded webinar for End of Mortgage that will focus on the planning process and key phases and steps in the End of Mortgage Roadmap. I do want to reiterate that this session is being pre-recorded and will be published on the city's Community Housing Partnership Renewal webpage, along with this slide deck. Before we get started with the webinar, I want to begin with the land acknowledgement and African ancestral acknowledgement. Okay, the City of Toronto acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. The city also acknowledges that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. I also want to acknowledge that some folks might be viewing this webinar from a different location, so I encourage everyone to take stock and reflect about the lands you're on in the spirit of ongoing reconciliation. Okay. Though I am not a person of African descent, I am committed to continually acting in support of and in solidarity with Black communities seeking freedom and reparative justice in light of the history and ongoing legacy of slavery that continues to impact Black communities in Canada. As part of this commitment, I would also like to acknowledge that not all people came to these lands as migrants and settlers. Specifically, I wish to acknowledge those of us who came here involuntarily, particularly those brought to these lands as a result of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. In support of the City of Toronto's ongoing efforts to confront anti-Black racism, I pay tribute to those ancestors of African origin and descent. I also want to acknowledge that February 1st marked the first day of Black History Month, a time to reflect on the rich contributions of Toronto's Black communities, but also to renew our commitment as a public service to equity and inclusion. Okay, so today's pre-recorded webinar will focus on the planning process and the key phases and steps in the EOM roadmap. To support continued collaboration and advancement of end of mortgage work currently undergoing by the city, we've developed a webpage dedicated to community housing partnership renewal, which can be accessed on the housing provider page. One of the key resources that is available to you as you move through this end of mortgage roadmap is the city's discussion guide. The web page is an access point for providers to review information related to end of mortgage. It also includes a discussion guide. The discussion guide can be found by clicking the End of Mortgages drop-down accordion, then scrolling down to the discussion guide heading. The discussion guide was created for boards and staff at both nonprofits and co-ops who are navigating the transition to a post-end of mortgage environment. To support the planning process, the city has developed an end of mortgage roadmap with suggested key phases and steps in the planning process and beyond. The discussion guide follows the end of mortgage roadmap elements and includes information, tools, and resources that you can access to help you at each stage. The discussion guide supports phases 1 to 4 of the EOM roadmap by providing information on legislation and impact related to EOM, the role of the board of directors through the EOM planning process, phases and steps in the planning process, organizational readiness, and resources and tools to prepare for change. As a board, it's important to think about end of mortgage and set aside dedicated time to have conversations to support the planning process and transition to a renewed partnership with the city. The EOM roadmap graphic on the slide suggests key phases and steps in the planning process and beyond. And as a board, you'll need to decide when and how you work on each phase. The amount of time you allocate to each phase may vary from each organization. Some boards may have parts of this work done already, while others may be just starting. Only you as a board can understand your current organizational capacity and really determine how long each phase will take you. It has been suggested that starting the EOM planning process sooner is more beneficial to manage the complexity of this transformative initiative. Okay, so first we'll go through the phase one and the corresponding steps. Okay, step one is gathering the information and resources. So gathering, reviewing, and understanding the information is one of the most important parts of the EOM planning process. Understanding all the necessary information you need to make a decision will support you in achieving the best outcomes post-mortgage expiry. So step one, some actionable items here is just to really start to gather important core information. Find out what your EOM date is, the number of properties impacted. Some folks may have more than one housing project experiencing end of mortgage. Finding your articles of incorporation and taking a look at what is listed as your purpose or mandate. And that mandate lays out what you can and cannot do as an organization. Identifying whether you're the owner of the land or whether you're on leased land is also important. Finding out if you have any partnerships agreements with health or support agencies. Finding out when they end and if those partners wish to extend. You may also want to dig up agreements that you have signed with the city, such as rent supplement agreements or COCHI funding. These agreements will have their own terms and conditions, and those do not disappear just because a service agreement is signed. In case of COCHI or its predecessor, SHRP, there will be affordability requirements embedded into those agreements that you may need to consider. The discussion guide includes resources that are available to support you in this step, including templates and trackers to help you collect facts as you gather them and some basic information on the EOM planning process for housing providers. Here's a list of resources that you can review in the guide to support you. Okay, so step two is to assess the current situation of your organization. You really need to just assess where your organization currently is. And through your assessment, you will get clarity on your current situation so you can begin to focus on the future and how you can operate after mortgage maturity. Okay, so step two is often the hardest step for boards because it requires an honest conversation about how you are doing. If you look at the image on this slide, we've identified some areas for discussion. You will want to review your organization's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges in the core areas of operations, finance, the state of your building or capital repair needs, board governance, including succession and recruitment planning, your partnerships, and your engagement with residents or members. Assessing your organization lets you take stock and identify where you may need additional supports or resources. Some resources to help you in step two are included in the discussion guide and include a SWOT analysis template, a self-assessment tool, and a simplified assessment tool. Okay, so the next phase in the EOM roadmap is analysis. In step three, it's really about knowing your financial situation and operating risks. Knowing the financial situation of your organization is going to be a key planning element for you as you start to approach end of mortgage. Regardless of your net operating position, knowing the details of your financial standing can help you better evaluate your current state and plan for your financial future. Understanding your current financial situation can be a starting point for planning the goals you wish to achieve. As you implement plans to achieve your goals, understanding your operating risks beyond mortgage expiry will also be crucial. Understanding how things are accomplished through active decisions that will strengthen your relationship to how your organizations function and prioritize. While the city can support you in understanding what some of your financial needs are, work that you do to understand your financial position will help inform the joint financial plan, which is fundamental to the service agreement. It is important that you have a firm understanding of the financial viability so that you can enter into a service agreement fully informed. Some of the key things that you need to know are what are your current RGI and market unit counts? Are you currently achieving your RGI targets? What is the market rent housing that you're currently charging? Are you keeping with the market in the city? Are you below that rate? Do you have any outstanding loan balances? What are your loan obligations? Are you managing vacancy loss and arrears? Do you have any additional financial encumbrances and do they have obligations? I would also suggest that you pull out your most recent audited financial statements and take a look at whether you were in a surplus or deficit position last year and the year before that. Before your mortgage ends, you need to fully understand your financial situation. And this includes understanding the financial outlook on the operating and capital sides, both now and as you look into the next 10 years post EOM. Some resources to help you in this step are included in the discussion guide, and they're a self-reflection tool in the areas of governance, operation, and finance. In step 4, you will aim to understand how your assets are essential for your organization as you seek to operate efficiently in a post-mortgage environment. Having a clear view of your capital needs can help your organization operate smoothly and maintain your buildings in a satisfactory state of good repair. Monitoring your assets and how you're maintaining them can help you make important decisions in the short, medium, and long term. In addition to into the financial information that we have already discussed, you may also want to start collecting some capital planning information. The city procured a building condition assessment, otherwise known as BCA, for your building, and I would suggest you take a look at that report. As the BCA also includes a capital reserve fund forecast, and this is critical information for you to understand how far your current capital reserves will go to meet your capital needs. You may also want to look at any building inspections or unit inspection information that you've collected and talk to your property manager about what they know about the building and its state of both maintenance and repair. Some resources to help you in this step included in the discussion guide are a self-reflection tool in the area of asset management. Additionally, there's a self-assessment tool and an end of mortgage checklist by CHF Canada. Okay, the next phase in the EOM roadmap is financial outlook. Looking at your financial state both now and doing some projecting to the future based on current trends will help you understand key information about your financial health, such as is your project operationally and financially viable today? Are you currently operating in a surplus or deficit? In terms of revenue and expenses, what do you think your financial ability looks like over the next 10 years? And will there be operating challenges expected? Will your capital reserve funds be adequate to complete planned work and keep your buildings in a state of good repair? These are critical questions that you won't be working through alone. As I've mentioned, the city has an interest in knowing this information as well, but it's in your best interest to start this process internally. For you as a board, it's beneficial for you to understand your financial position before you start engaging with the city about what a new service agreement would look like. The self-reflection tool in the discussion guide on finance has many other finance-related questions that you can consider when preparing for end of mortgage. In this step, you will use what you've learned about the current financial state of your organization to really develop an outlook for the future. And your organization will have the ability to make informed decisions and develop tailored implementation plans. Some resources to help you in step 5 included in the discussion guide are a financial outlook template and a guide to financial statements. Okay, the next phase is phase 4. Um, in this step 6, in phase 4, you'll need to use everything you've learned and uncovered in phases 1 to 3 to map out what the future of your organization looks like. Your role will really be to review, reflect, and discuss with other board members and staff. This requires you to have detailed and often complex discussions with the entire board that may span several meetings. Ask yourself some key questions to help develop a path forward. What will your organization look like in 5 years? What would your financial situation be? Are there any capital projects that you're looking forward to tackling? And are you interested in developing new or expanding the number of units you manage? These are just some questions for you to consider. The self-reflection tools and discussion guide can help you reflect on your current situation and your vision in the areas of governance, operation, asset, and finance. I would encourage you to review those as a group. Appendix 8 in the discussion guide has a discussion points template that can help you summarize what you've learned so that you can have a fulsome conversation with the entire board. Okay, the final 2 phases are agreement execution and sustainability. To preface this with an update first, on June 26, 2024, City Council adopted the Community Housing Sector Modernization and Growth Strategy, otherwise known as the strategy, and the strategy supports nonprofit, co-op, and Indigenous housing providers to grow and preserve their RGI and affordable housing stock. The primary outcomes of the strategy are to protect the city's existing community housing stock, increase the stock of net new nonprofit and cooperative homes, and improve access to housing opportunities for low and moderate income households, particularly Indigenous peoples and other equity-deserving groups. With this approval from Council, staff are now in the process of developing a new operating and funding framework for housing providers that have reached end of mortgage so that we can renew our partnership through a service agreement. So to support steps 7 and 8, you can begin to review the following materials in the discussion guide. Appendix 9 includes preparing to negotiate at end of mortgage to really help you prepare for and conduct successful agreement discussions. And this has a specific focus on co-ops. Appendix 9 also has techniques for end of mortgage negotiation guide, which contains tips to assist you in conducting successful agreement discussions, again with a specific focus for co-ops. As we continue our work to renew our service manager housing provider relationship, we'll employ a timely and transparent communication approach to keep you informed about key decisions and approvals, milestones, resources, and materials to assist you in preparing for end of mortgage. Okay, that brings us to the end of the slide deck. Thank you for listening today. If you have any further questions about this pre-recorded webinar, please email hss@toronto.ca. Alternatively, you can connect with your designated housing consultant who can triage your questions. Thanks so much. Bye.